Hello everybody and welcome back to Spacedock. I'm Hujuana and today we're stepping away from the excitement of spaceships and explosions to look at the more human side of sci-fi, specifically what people do for rest and relaxation, be it the short moments they can grab in the day-to-day or on a longer period of leave. Everyone needs rest, of course, but it's particularly important on ships and in other situations where people are away from home and possibly in stressful situations. Grabbing moments to socialise and build camaraderie is also very important for morale, which is a more intangible thing compared to something like overworked crew members making mistakes. Larger ships and stations can have special facilities like the famous swimming pool aboard the Soviet Typhoon-class submarines, but that's also a particular luxury for an especially challenging environment to live and work in. Also, I'm pretty sure submariners need to have a different mindset to their surface-going brethren, but that doesn't mean they don't want time off. A bit of a twist on this is that for those in spaceships, green space or fresh air are going to be particularly important for mental well-being. To that end, having shore leave on somewhere with that becomes an attractive option, providing a welcome change of pace but also something for crew to look forward to. So what sort of features should a place for shore leave have? Well, one option is big open natural spaces, like the starbase seen throughout Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Not only does it have smaller locations to gather and socialise and drink, which we'll talk about more in a minute, but it's also got those big biodome thingies that offer lots of opportunities for planet-like activities, like nature walks or fishing. A nice, calm and quiet time in an open space away from people. Sounds perfect to me. That's not necessarily what everyone wants though, which is where other options come in like casinos, theme parks, or just more generic civilian things that starbases and planets can offer. We covered space hotels and cruise ships and resorts last year, so I won't linger on those, but Lower Decks included one in Season 5 that I just have to point out. Look at all the activities and environments it has. But this is perhaps getting a little too high level, since there's a lot of little things that can be done while still aboard a ship or station as part of one's normal day-to-day routine. Sticking with Star Trek and The Next Generation was especially fond of showing all the little cultural pursuits that its crew got up to, with classical music and theatre and such being particularly common to see, which I guess is a way to demonstrate a more sophisticated ideal for what people got up to in their spare time. Also, yeah, this stuff was also public domain, so it could be used by a production. Both reasons work together. Throughout the various shows, Star Trek has also shown communal cooking to be a vital part of the social makeup on the ship. Yes, it makes for good, relatable TV, but it was also a key part of some characters' lives. Plus, it's funny to see what daft future food stuff they tried to come up with. TNG's poker played a similar role, providing a great opportunity to see the bridge crew interact and socialise in a casual setting, and also how important it was that Picard eventually joined them at the end of the show. To expand on card games, since there's so much variety to be had with the types of games, from solo ones to competitive with the added spice of gambling, it's no wonder it's so popular to see them included everywhere, or for media to invent their own unique ones. Card games also make for good time-filling fodder for those on duty but not actively doing something, like the pilots aboard Galactica. Other classic board games like chess and checkers and such fill a similar niche, since they're also low stakes and require little setup or can even be improvised. I'm sure some of you know the tale of the Warhammer 40k game played with rocks and lots of imagination during the Gulf War. Sports! Also another fantastic avenue for R&R, with the caveat that they need more room to happen. Boxing and other martial arts seem to be a common thing to have in fiction, likely due to the one-on-one nature that plays well with personal storytelling, though that can be done with other things too. But there's invented team sports as well, like BSG's Pyramid or the Zero-G basketball seen in the Dead Space games. Going off ships, we have things like the racing scene in Star Wars, which are such large events they occupy that space between recreation and economic activity due to the number of spectators. And that's an entire other side of sports as well, since just watching them in a third space is a whole activity in and of itself. These casual areas like Quarks, 10 Forward and the like seem very important places to have for the long-term missions and civilian complements these ships and stations have. These third spaces away from one's quarters or area of work are there for people to eat, drink and socialise, with the added benefit of wise counsel from the Barkeep. There can be a lot of variety in them too. They can be just a little spot on a small ship like the Normandy, to a whole elaborate place like the very comfy looking future space pub on Discovery. Though not every vessel has the luxury of room to put such things, so temporarily converting another area like the mess can serve a similar role. Of particular note here is the value of alcohol, which may not be all that available or be outright off limits. But that's where moonshine comes in, and there's even a whole plotline in Season 4 of For All Mankind about a hidden bar on the Mars colony and the moonshine made within, along with it being the home of the black market. This is tangentially related, but simple luxuries like someone's favourite treats from home and other comforts can very much help with their mental health. These may not be available through normal channels, so that is where black markets come in. Starship Troopers is a great example of a ton of these R&R options. There's the stuff aboard the space station, there's the drinks, music and sports equipment that the Roughnecks get on the surface. There's this mysterious thing going on under the sheets. But this may not count because Starship Troopers is a propaganda movie. It's going to deliberately show something meant to be attractive and heroic and hopeful to the audience, so all these leisure activities could very well be exaggerated. So that's a bunch of real stuff, but sci-fi also has a bunch of virtual stuff to engage in as well. VR is a whole thing we have now, and it's not just games. There's whole virtual third spaces many people use as a social option, though this is also true of the internet in general. Naturally, VR tech in fiction tends to be a lot bigger and more capable than the real thing, going beyond just being goggles to see a different world. Take Cyberpunk 2077's brain dances, which seem to wholly take over the senses and can even have feelings and emotions play, making them much more of an experiential device than just a mere display. The much more sci-fi option that I'm sure some of y'all have been yelling at the screen about since the intro is the holodeck. These are still a way to trick the senses, but are much more elaborate, since they're more about creating a world to inhabit rather than one to view or experience. Both VR and holodecks can have pretty much anything in, though with holodecks it can also be mixed with real stuff like replicated food or whatever. And yes, there's the adult entertainment side of it. We all knew it was a possibility even if the shows never wanted to go there until Lower Decks hinted at it. And the Orville tackled it head on with that excellent episode about addiction. Both options can be used to visit other places and do other things that aren't possible at the current location. And all the previous rest options you can just do in a holodeck, or use it to build and expand upon them, like all the various roleplay options we see throughout TNG. A notable example of this is when Nog used it in Deep Space Nine to help with his trauma after being wounded in the Dominion War. While most of these options aren't all that special and future-y, I think that's part of their charm. People playing cards or going fishing on strange worlds far from home lends the characters and settings some relatability, with the more crazy tech stuff left for more high-concept story ideas. Rest and relaxation may not seem as cool or exciting as a big space battle or whatever, but you can't deny that the quiet times away from it all have provided us with some of the best and most memorable character moments. You can support Spacedock by joining our Patreon, where you can get our frigate and spacefighter design reference books. Alternatively, you can support us directly through YouTube by becoming a channel member. Thanks to our supporters, and thank you for watching.